Picture a dimly lit Chicago apartment on a stormy evening, rain lashing against cracked windows, the air thick with fear. A little boy's cry pierces the gloom as he's struck for breaking a plate, his small hands trembling, his green eyes wide with terror. Shards of porcelain lie scattered on the worn linoleum floor, a symbol of a home broken by anger. Then, the door bursts open and a millionaire storms in, his tailored coat dripping with rain, his eyes blazing with righteous rage. His voice, a thunderous roar, echoes through the room, silencing the chaos. Stop this now. What could drive someone to harm a child over a simple mistake? Why would a wealthy stranger, known for his icy control, unleash such fury to protect a boy he's never met? This is a story of pain, compassion, and a moment that rewrites lives forever. You're about to dive into a tale so raw, so emotional, it'll grip your soul and leave you breathless. Join us for the unforgettable journey of Ethan, Marcus Reynolds, and a single act of courage that defies all odds. Hit play and let's unravel a story that'll tug at your heartstrings and ignite your soul. Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel, where we unearth stories that hit you deep in the soul, spark hope, and celebrate the incredible power of human compassion. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button and join our vibrant community of story lovers. We're absolutely thrilled to have you. Today, we're diving into a tale that feels like it's ripped from a Hollywood blockbuster, but it's real, raw, and profoundly moving. It's about Ethan, a 7-year-old boy trapped in a world of fear and punishment, his innocence battered by cruelty. Marcus Reynolds, a millionaire whose polished exterior hides a heart guarded by years of solitude, and a single moment that turned their lives upside down. This isn't just about wealth or cruelty. It's about empathy, redemption, and the courage to rewrite a broken story in an instant. Let's meet Marcus Reynolds. At 48, he's a financial tycoon in Chicago, a titan whose name is synonymous with power, precision, and unyielding ambition. Worth over $200 million, Marcus lives in a Gold Coast penthouse that's a masterpiece of modern opulence. Picture a sleek marvel of glass and steel, with soaring 20-foot ceilings, a private rooftop terrace overlooking Lake Michigan, a climate-controlled garage housing a collection of rare vintage cars, a 1965 Shelby Cobra, a 1957 Ferrari Testarossa, and floor-to-ceiling windows that frame the city's glittering skyline. His life is a showcase of success: custom suits tailored in London, exclusive dinners at Michelin-star restaurants like Alinea, and a reputation for being brilliant but unapproachable, a man who commands respect but rarely offers warmth. Behind the polished facade, Marcus is a solitary figure. Divorced 5 years ago after a marriage that crumbled under the weight of his ambition, he has no children and has poured his life into Reynolds Capital, a financial empire that shaped Chicago's economic landscape. His staff, drivers, assistants, security, personal chefs, manage his world like a well-oiled machine, but he barely acknowledges them, their names and faces fading into the blur of his high-stakes world of investments, mergers, and acquisitions. Now, let's meet Ethan. He's a 7-year-old with tousled brown hair that falls into his green eyes that hold a quiet resilience despite the pain they've seen. His smile, rare and fleeting, hides a world of fear and hurt. Ethan lives with his stepfather, Derek, and his mother, Sarah, in a rundown apartment in Chicago's South Side, a neighborhood where hope struggles to take root. The apartment is a cramped, dimly lit space, its peeling wallpaper curling at the edges, its heater sputtering in the cold Chicago winters, its windows rattling with every gust of wind. Sarah works as a cleaner in one of Marcus's office buildings, a towering glass structure in the Loop, a job that barely covers rent and leaves little for food or clothes. Derek, a volatile man who entered their lives 2 years ago after a whirlwind romance, rules the household with an iron fist, his temper a constant threat. Ethan's days are spent navigating a minefield of tension, tiptoeing around Derek's moods, his nights often spent hungry or afraid, clutching a tattered stuffed dinosaur named Rex, a gift from his late father, his only comfort in a home where fear has replaced love. Sarah's job at Marcus's building means long hours, often stretching into the night, and Ethan sometimes tags along, sitting quietly in the janitorial closet with a coloring book filled with dinosaur sketches or a broken toy dinosaur he's too attached to discard. His small frame, draped in a faded hoodie that's too big, goes unnoticed by the bustling office workers who hurry through the building's marble lobby, their minds on meetings and deadlines. Marcus, who rarely visits his properties, preferring to oversee his empire from his penthouse or boardroom, has never seen Ethan, never noticed the small boy tucked away in the closet. To him, Sarah is just another employee, a name on a payroll he never reviews, her struggles invisible in the shadow of his wealth. But Ethan isn't invisible to everyone. Rosa, a receptionist at the office building, notices him. A kind woman in her 50s with a warm smile, Rosa sees how Ethan is too quiet for a 7-year-old, how his clothes are worn and patched, how his green eyes dart nervously when Derek's name is mentioned. She sneaks him snacks, a granola bar, an apple, and tells him stories about dinosaurs roaming ancient forests, hoping to coax a smile, but she senses something's deeply wrong. The faint bruises on his arms, the way he flinches at loud noises, Rosa suspects abuse, but lacks proof. She's tried asking Sarah gentle questions about Ethan's home life, but Sarah's exhaustion and denial brush her off, insisting Derek is just strict. Marcus, consumed by his financial empire, is oblivious to Ethan's existence, let alone the pain that defines his young life. That is, until one fateful stormy evening, a moment that will shatter his carefully constructed world and force him to confront a reality he never imagined. Let's dive into the problem that set the stage for this life-altering encounter. Ethan's life was a quiet nightmare, a stark contrast to the innocence his 7 years should have held. He should have been building forts with blankets, playing with toy dinosaurs, or dreaming of prehistoric adventures with Rex, his stuffed dinosaur. Instead, he was surviving a world of fear and punishment, where every day felt like a battle to stay safe. Sarah, his mother, was a kind but exhausted woman, worn down by her cleaning job at Marcus's office building and the relentless strain of living with Derek, her controlling stepfather. Their South Side apartment was a cramped, dimly lit space, its peeling wallpaper curling like a warning, its heater flickering in the Chicago cold, its air heavy with tension like a storm waiting to break. Derek's temper was a constant threat, his anger flaring over the smallest mistakes, a spilled glass, a loud step, a dropped fork. Ethan learned to stay small, to move silently, to avoid Derek's wrath, but it was never enough. Bruises from Derek's discipline marked his arms, hidden under his faded hoodie. His green eyes grew wary, his movements tinged with a nervous flinch, the signs of a child living in constant terror. Sarah's long hours at Marcus's office building, a gleaming tower in Chicago's Loop, with its marble lobby and soaring glass facade, meant Ethan often tagged along, sitting in the janitorial closet with Rex, coloring on scrap paper with broken crayons, or reading a tattered library book about dinosaurs ruling ancient forests. The closet, with its shelves of cleaning supplies and faint smell of bleach, was a small refuge from home, but even there, Ethan carried his fear. Rosa, the receptionist, took a special interest, noticing Ethan's wariness, his thin frame, the way he'd shrink when Derek called Sarah's phone, his voice barking through the speaker. Rosa suspected abuse, those faint bruises, barely visible under his sleeves, the fear in his green eyes when a door slammed, but she lacked proof. She'd tried talking to Sarah, gently asking about Ethan's home life, but Sarah, overwhelmed by exhaustion and denial, brushed her off, insisting Derek was just strict and that they were managing. Rosa didn't push, afraid of making things worse, but she kept a close eye, slipping Ethan snacks, a cookie, a piece of fruit, and watching for any chance to help. Marcus, meanwhile, lived in a different universe. His Gold Coast penthouse was a fortress of solitude, its sleek glass and steel design a testament to his wealth, but not his warmth. He was a man of discipline, his life a carefully choreographed dance of financial deals, boardroom battles, and high-stakes negotiations. His divorce 5 years ago, after a marriage strained by his relentless ambition, had left him guarded, his heart sealed behind the walls of his empire. Reynolds Capital was his legacy, a financial giant that shaped Chicago's skyline with investments in real estate, tech startups, and infrastructure. His staff, dozens of employees across his properties and offices, were cogs in his machine, their personal lives irrelevant to him. When his property manager mentioned Sarah's occasional lateness or complaints about staffing shortages, Marcus was dismissive, his response curt, "Handle it." His mind was on a $100 million merger with a tech firm, not a cleaner or the boy who tagged along. Ethan's existence, Sarah's struggles, none of it registered in his world of wealth and power. But Ethan's situation was growing dire. Derek's punishments escalated, shouting that shook the apartment's thin walls, grabbing Ethan's arm too tightly, hitting him over minor infractions like a spilled drink or a broken plate. Ethan's only refuge was the office building, where Rosa's kindness offered a flicker of safety, a moment of warmth in a life of fear. Sarah, caught between her love for Ethan and her fear of Derek, was too exhausted to see the full extent of the abuse, her denial a shield against a reality she couldn't face. The breaking point came on a stormy Chicago evening, rain pounding the city, thunder rumbling like a warning. Derek, enraged over a shattered plate that slipped from Ethan's small hands, struck him, his cries echoing through the apartment. Marcus, visiting Sarah's home to drop off a revised work schedule after a late meeting, heard the commotion from the hallway. The sound of Ethan's cries, sharp and desperate, pierced through the door, and Marcus burst in, his voice a thunderous roar. "What the hell is going on here?" His eyes blazed with rage, stopping Derek in his tracks, the room falling silent except for Ethan's quiet sobs and the patter of rain outside. Marcus didn't know Ethan, didn't know his story, but the sight of a child cowering in fear, his small body trembling, ignited a rage he couldn't contain. Rosa, who had given Marcus the address to drop off the schedule, had mentioned her concerns about Ethan, but nothing prepared him for this. Who was this boy, and why was he being hurt over something as trivial as a broken plate? Let's go back to understand how this moment unfolded and what Marcus did next to change everything. To grasp the full weight of that moment in the apartment, we need to rewind to Ethan's life before that stormy evening. He was born to Sarah and Tom, a warm couple whose South Side apartment was once filled with love and laughter. Tom, a construction worker with a gentle smile, died in a workplace accident when Ethan was 2, leaving Sarah to raise him alone. Sarah loved Ethan fiercely, pouring her heart into him despite her grief and financial strain. She took a cleaning job at Marcus's office building, working long hours to keep a roof over their heads. 2 years ago, Derek, a coworker she met at a temp job, entered their lives, promising stability. But Derek brought control and fear, turning their apartment into a battleground. Ethan learned to survive by staying quiet, hiding in his room with Rex, his stuffed dinosaur, whispering stories of dinosaurs ruling ancient forests to escape the tension. Bruises from Derek's discipline were hidden under his faded hoodie, and his green eyes grew wary, his laughter a rare sound in a home where fear had replaced love. When Sarah worked late at Marcus's office building, a gleaming tower in Chicago's Loop, with its marble lobby and soaring glass facade, Ethan tagged along, sitting in the janitorial closet with Rex, coloring dinosaur scenes on scrap paper or reading a worn library book about prehistoric adventures. The closet, with its shelves of cleaning supplies and faint smell of bleach, was a small refuge from home, but Ethan carried his fear everywhere. Rosa, the receptionist, became his quiet protector, noticing his nervousness, his thin frame, the way he'd cling to Rex when Derek's name came up. She'd offer snacks, a granola bar, an apple, and tell stories of dinosaurs roaming ancient forests, hoping to coax a smile, but she suspected abuse. The faint bruises on his arms, the way he flinched at loud noises, she'd tried talking to Sarah, gently asking about Ethan's home life, but Sarah, overwhelmed by exhaustion and denial, insisted Derek was just strict, her voice trembling with the weight of her own doubts. Rosa didn't push, afraid of making things worse, but she kept a close eye, watching for any chance to help. Marcus, meanwhile, was a man of precision, his life a carefully curated empire. His divorce 5 years ago had left him wary of connection, his heart sealed behind the walls of his ambition. Reynolds Capital was his life's work, a financial giant that defined Chicago with investments in real estate, tech startups, and infrastructure. His Gold Coast penthouse was a showcase of wealth, sleek glass and steel, a rooftop terrace with views of Lake Michigan, a garage of vintage cars, but it was a lonely place, filled with the hum of staff but no real warmth. Marcus rarely visited his properties, leaving their management to his team. When his property manager mentioned Sarah's occasional lateness or complaints about staffing shortages, Marcus was detached, his response cold: "Handle it." His mind was on a $100 million merger, not a cleaner or the boy who tagged along. He didn't know Ethan existed, didn't know a child was suffering under the shadow of his own building. But Ethan's world was darkening faster than anyone knew. Derek's punishments escalated, locking Ethan in his room for hours, withholding meals, hitting him for accidents like a spilled drink or a broken plate. The office building was Ethan's only refuge, where Rosa's kindness offered a flicker of safety, a moment of warmth in a life of fear. Sarah, caught between her love for Ethan and her fear of Derek, was too exhausted to see the full extent of the abuse, her denial a shield against a reality she couldn't face. That stormy evening, after Ethan accidentally dropped a plate, shattering it on the kitchen floor, Derek's rage exploded. He struck Ethan, his cries echoing through the apartment, sharp and desperate. Marcus, visiting Sarah's home to drop off a revised work schedule after a late meeting, heard the commotion from the hallway. The sound of Ethan's cries pierced through the door, and Marcus burst in, his voice a thunderous roar. "What the hell is going on here?" His eyes blazed with rage, stopping Derek in his tracks, the room falling silent except for Ethan's quiet sobs and the patter of rain outside. Marcus acted swiftly. He confronted Derek, his presence commanding as he demanded answers. Seeing Ethan's fear and the faint bruises on his arms, he called the police, who removed Derek from the apartment. Marcus contacted a social worker to ensure Ethan's safety that night, arranging for him to be taken to a warm, safe foster home. He turned to Sarah, who broke down, admitting her denial and guilt, her voice choked with tears. Marcus, torn between anger and pity, promised to fund her counseling and housing to stabilize her life, but insisted Ethan's safety was non-negotiable. That moment in the apartment was a seismic shift. Ethan's cries and the sight of him cowering, clutching Rex, shattered Marcus's carefully built walls of detachment. Sarah's tearful confession about Derek's abuse and her own denial hit him like a tidal wave, awakening a compassion he hadn't felt in years. Marcus called the police, who removed Derek and began an investigation. He arranged for a social worker to take Ethan to a safe, warm foster home that night, ensuring he had a soft bed, a warm meal, and someone to comfort him. He funded counseling for Sarah, giving her a chance to address her grief and blindness to the abuse, but his focus was on Ethan's immediate safety, a priority he refused to compromise. Marcus didn't stop there. He hired a lawyer to ensure Derek faced legal consequences, documenting the abuse to protect Ethan. He visited Ethan in foster care, bringing books about dinosaurs and a new sketch pad with colored pencils, learning his love for prehistoric stories and drawing. "You're safe now," he promised, kneeling to meet Ethan's green eyes, which flickered with wary hope. Ethan, hesitant but sensing Marcus's sincerity, began to trust him, his small hand clutching Rex as he nodded. Marcus petitioned to become Ethan's legal guardian, determined to give him the stable, loving home he deserved. The court, seeing his commitment and resources, approved, and Ethan moved into the Gold Coast penthouse, his small presence filling its silent spaces with life, his laughter a new melody in a home once defined by solitude. Ethan's story is more than a millionaire's rescue, it's a testament to the power of one moment to change a life. Marcus didn't just save Ethan, he found purpose in the boy's resilience, a reason to open his heart after years of solitude. He became Ethan's guardian, transforming his Gold Coast penthouse into a home filled with warmth, bedtime stories about dinosaurs, and the sound of Ethan's laughter echoing through its halls. Sarah, now in recovery with counseling and a new apartment, visits regularly, rebuilding her bond with Ethan under Marcus's supportive watch. Marcus, once a solitary figure, is now a father figure, reading tales of prehistoric adventures, framing Ethan's colorful dinosaur sketches, and marveling at his courage and spirit. Today, Ethan is a thriving 8-year-old, his tousled brown hair bouncing as he plays on the penthouse's rooftop terrace, his green eyes bright with hope and joy. Marcus founded a foundation for abused children, inspired by Ethan's strength, funding shelters, legal aid, and programs to break cycles of violence. This story shows that compassion can rewrite futures, that one act of kindness can heal a child's wounds and transform a heart, reminding us all of the power we hold to change lives. If Ethan and Marcus's story touched your heart, smash that like button and share it with someone who needs a spark of hope. Subscribe and ring the bell for more stories that inspire and uplift. Drop a comment. Have you ever witnessed an act of compassion that changed a life? We'd love to hear your story. Let's spread kindness together. See you in the next video.